What's up, everybody? Welcome. Waiting for the Beatmeister. I'm here. Um, Related to one of the comments, or actually a bunch of comments in my video where I talked about the three different lines over three dominant chords, I would see these comments talking about, well, this music is too mathematical, and I think a lot of this the idea of mathematical music comes from the complexity of chord symbols. When you see a chord with a bunch of numbers after it, it looks like mathematics, but it's actually not. It's pretty simple. So I want to talk about that first, then I want to demonstrate some things about how music is a lot simpler than you realize, but why you need these numbers and things after chords, okay? So, if I take a C major chord, okay, a C major chord is made up of three notes, C, E, and G. Now, you'll hear people say the root, the third, the fifth. So they're talking about, and this is simplistic for most people, they're talking about there's intervals between these chords, right? That this would be a major third interval, and then a minor third from E to G, small m3, right? And then this is a perfect fifth, P5. But you could also say, well, a C major scale has notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And the root is the 1, right? Or I'll put R. Then you get the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh notes. Well, root, third, fifth, right there, right? That's where that C major comes in. Root, third, fifth, because it's the root, beginning note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale. Okay? Now, when you get into more complex chords, like if you had a C major seventh, you add this note B in there. Okay? So then you got, that chord is called C major seventh. Let me rewrite it here so it's clearer. So C major 7. So that basically just describes that it's a C major chord with a major seventh on it. So it'd be C, E, G, right? C major with a B added to it, 7 with the seventh. So people call it 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay? Seventh note of the scale there. All right, now if it were a C7 chord, that seventh becomes flatted. Okay, because this comes from a different key. C7 actually comes from the key of F, which contains the note B flat. Okay, so this note would be a B flat. If I take this scale from C and put a B flat in it, you get a C Mixolydian scale, which is the key of F major. Okay? That's how you make a C7 chord. It's still 1, 3, 5, 7, but the seventh in this case is really the flat 7. Okay? If I start adding things like flat 9s and making these more, when you see these more complex symbols, like C7 with a flat 9, okay? It's C7, C, E, G, B flat, right? We just went over that. 1, 3, 5, flat 7. And then it has a flat 9. Well, the ninth, as we just saw, is some type of a D. The ninth and the second are the same thing. You always have to remember, 9, 11, 13 is really 2, 4, and 6. They're just up the octave. If you count, if you take a C major scale and you count from C and you go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, right? That's 8 notes. And then, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, okay? That's 9 notes. That is the ninth. That's where that comes in, right? It's the second. C9 is the same thing as C, the D is the ninth or the second. Well, if it was a flat 9, it'd just be a D flat, right? So that would be D flat. That's called the flat 9, right? If it were D natural, you just call it the ninth. D natural would be the 9, and this would just be a C9 chord. You could call it a C7-9, but people shorten it to call it a C9, okay? If you make it a flat 9, it'd be C7 with a flat 9, okay? It just tells you what notes are in the chord. That's all it is. It's just a shorthand to describe what the chord is, right? And you put the flat 9 there. Now you'll see in my video, you see things with a sharp 9, sharp 5. Okay, well, it's the same kind of thing. Sharp 9 would be D sharp, right? Sharp 9. And then sharp 5, well, here's the 5th, so we make this a G sharp. Gives you a sharp 5. That's a sharp 9, sharp 5 chord. Those are the notes. It's that simple, right? If you did flat 9, sharp 5, this would be a D flat again. That would be a flat 9, sharp 5. It could be a flat 9, flat 5. Well, that's pretty simple. Take the 5th here for a flat 5 and make this a G flat. 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7, flat 9. That would be a flat 5, flat 9 chord, right? So you go flat 9, flat 5, whatever. It doesn't have, it can be in either. It can be in either order there, right? So these are how these chords are composed. Now, why do you use those chords? That's the other thing. You know, and I mean, any chord that you're thinking of, the chord symbol basically describes the notes in the chord. You know, D major 7, sharp 5. Well, you take a D major 7. You get D, F sharp, A. There's your D major, right? F sharp, A. 1, 3, 5. With a 7, with a major 7. And then you go C sharp is a major 7. 1, 3, 5, 7. Well, this says D major 7 with a sharp 5. So what do? You sharp the 5th, which is A sharp, and you make it a sharp 5. Those are the notes in here. But if you look carefully at this, what is F sharp, A sharp, C sharp? It's really an F sharp major chord there. So it's really, you could also call that chord F sharp major with a C bass. Anytime you see slash chords, it's this triad over this bass. Okay? So that would be another name for this. D major 7 sharp 5 is also F sharp major. I have over C, sorry, over D. Okay, so why do you use these chords? Why you even use them? I'll tell you. The reason that you use more complex chords is to create more interesting melodies, really. I have a chord progression written back here. If you were to look at that chord progression, you'd say, well, what chord progression is that? Let me get my guitar here. Hold on. Lower it just a little bit. No, actually, I think that's good. Okay, that chord progression is the song Clarity by Zed. You guys know that, right? Hold on, let me fix this a little more. Bring it down a little. There we go. That's good. Okay, so Clarity by Zed has this basic chord progression. Actually, this is a simplified version of it. B flat minor, E flat major, right? Then it goes to F minor, to A flat over C, to D flat major. But that's not really what the chord progression is. Aaron is sitting over here at the piano, and Aaron's going to accompany me while I play the melody, playing the straight chords there. Ready, Aaron? 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that is a little bit boring, right? Because those aren't really the chords that are played in the song. Here's the actual chords that are played in the song. Ready? 2, 3, 4. Again. Now let's go back to the boring chords. Ready? We're going to go back to the straight chords here. Ready? 2, 3, 4. Now the complex. Go ahead. Okay, so obviously the chords that are more complex are way more interesting because they're more colorful. The melody sounds far better over the complex chords. But the complex chords, the chords that are actually in the song are B minor 11, E flat, really sus, and Aaron was playing sus 4 with a third, F minor 11 really, A flat over C. It's really A flat sus2 over C, which is what he was playing, then D flat 6/9. Okay? Aaron, once again, play the straight chords as triads. And hear what it sounds like? B flat minor, E flat major, F minor, A flat over C, D flat major. Now do the interesting ones. B flat minor 11, E flat sus4 3, F minor 11, A flat sus2 over C, D flat 6/9. Okay, this is far superior. This is why these more complex chords, that's why people use them. It's just so because they're more interesting. They're not really complex. When you see all these chord symbols, it's they're just ways to notate what notes are in the chord, basically, right? And some things in jazz chords have more they have more complexity to them, right? They're a little bit, they'll have sevenths with sharp nines, sharp fives, major sevenths with sharp fives, and you'll have, I use all different kind of things in my songs here. Let me move that down a little bit more. Okay, but the tricky part comes in when you're improvising. That's where it gets difficult, okay? If I have let's say I have an E flat 7 or E flat major to A flat major, that would be a 5/1 cadence in the key of A flat major. Well, 500 years ago, people realized if you make it a 7th chord, you have this tritone in there that resolves. The flat 7 moves down to the 3rd of the major, so, and the 3rd of the flat 7 chord moves up to the root of the major chord, of the 1 chord, right? So you have that tritone there, and it creates a harmonic tension that is resolved on the resolution. Well, when you do have something like a flat 9 chord, that adds a second harmonic tension to the dominant chord, okay? So instead of, or this, we have this. There's a flat 9, so you have the flat 9 resolving to the 5th. You can also do the flat 9 to the 13, okay, to the 6, or, okay, that's another thing, okay? So you can also do the sharp 9 to the major 7. You could also do the flat 5 to the 9th, right? You could also do the sharp 5 up to the 3rd, or the sharp 5 to the 9th of the tonic chord, okay? That's just for voice leading purposes. It creates harmonic tension that needs to be resolved. Well, the same thing goes for improvising, okay? I can play an idea that goes like this. If I'm gonna solo from an E flat chord to an A flat chord, I can go, okay, so I did a simple E flat triad to an A flat major. Now I can do the same thing and use an E flat 7 chord. Okay, I can put a flat 9 in there to even give it more harmonic tension. Okay, I can put a sharp 9 in it if I want. I can go, right? Okay, and I ended on the major 7, that sharp, to the, that sharp 9 moves up to the major 7. I can go, the sharp 9 could go down to that 13 also on the tonic chord, all right? So in jazz, or it's not even in jazz, in so many different kinds of music, you can use these tensions to create far more interesting melodies and harmonies. When you're soloing though, if I'm going, if I play, it sounds more like classical music or something, right? Where I'm doing a straight E flat chord. Or, right? There I use the root, flat 9, third, sharp 5, sharp 9, flat 9, fifth, root, to the flat 7 to the third. That's using even more tensions there. That's what jazz is about just using a little more dissonance, okay? But there's even huge pop songs like, I'm sorry, if I, so if I think about clarity, what notes are in the melody? It starts on the, so it goes from the 7th up to the 11th of the B flat minor, and then it's really the 13 over the sus to the 5th. Then you're on out in F minor. So you're going F minor 11, and then it's a, and on the D flat chord they use the sharp 11. Aaron, play the chords one more time for me. So I'll play the first chord, flat 7, 11, and then to the 9th. Or the 6th, I mean, to the root, or the 5th, I'm sorry, 6 to 5. And then on F minor, we got the 3rd to the 4th. And then, now on that chord, on the A flat over C, I go and, so the, I'm using A flat add 9 over C is really what it is. Aaron's playing A flat sus 2 over C, but it's, so here's it. And then on the D flat 6, he's going this to the sharp 11. So those upper chord structures are really great sounding, and that's why they're called color tones. A lot of people call them upper extensions, but back in the day, Charlie Parker, people like that used to call them color tones, okay? Those were the dissonances, those altered notes. And typically those altered notes lead somewhere. If I'm doing a progression and if I do a, let's say I'm doing E minor 7 to A9 to D major 7 sharp 5, oh, I erased it. That sharp 5 usually resolves up to the 6th. Da, da, da. So those notes have a purpose for being used. They can be used like that if you're chording, and you can have a melody that goes da 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 da, da, right? Or you can go. In your soloing, you can do the same thing. Okay, questions?
All right, so first question, somebody asked, let me go back there. I think fundamentally you need to have a knowledge of all the arpeggio and scale shapes by heart. How would you recommend going about that?
You can find them in my book. I mean, really, it's for any instrument. You have to just You literally have to practice them, and you should practice them when you're learning them in a particular order. I always practice triads and then their extended notes. Okay, so if I'm playing an A major triad, I just simply play, I would play, and then, you know, I play it in different positions, but then I would add different notes to it. The ninth is the first note I would add to it. Then I'd add the sus4, you know. Right? If you think about the Allman Brothers, there it is. Or then you can add the sharp 4. That would be called Lydian major, okay? You can add the 13 to it. You can add, then you go into the 7th chords and you practice your major 7th arpeggio. Your minor, dominant 7th. I'll do it all off the 6th string first and off the 5th string. Minor 7, A minor 7, A minor 7 flat 5. A diminished 7. Okay, then I do A major 7 sharp 5. Right? And then you do a dominant 7 sharp 5. Then you do minor major 7. And then I'm thinking, then I would get into ones where you do the flat 9s. Then you add the sharp 9, you go through the whole series of them. Then you move to the 5th string, do the same thing. Triad, right? Add 9. Minor triad. Minor add 9. Then you go to your, your Lydian. Then you do your add 9. I think I did add 9 already. Then you do major 7th, minor 7th, dominant 7th, minor 7th, flat 5, diminished 7th, and then I went to major 7 sharp 5, minor 7, minor major 7, and just practice them. You get them under your fingers, and then you can start to be able to use them. Once you know where the fingerings are, you need to learn them in as many positions as there are notes in the chord. So if it's a triad, you should learn at least in 3 positions, right? I like to do things where on the guitar, on the piano, it's different. On the piano, you have sets of fingerings. For example, if you're doing triads, C, F, G, if you're talking about major triads, C, F, G have the same fingering because they're all in the white keys. So does D minor, E minor, A minor, right? B diminished triads. Then you add, if you're adding one black note, you have your arpeggios like D major, A major. You could say B flat major because that has one black note in it, right? One flat. And then you would go through and you'd practice the fingerings of these, right? Then you do the ones with that might have an E major. Then you do ones that have 2 black notes in it, like B major, okay? And you practice those fingerings. It's the same, it doesn't matter. On whatever instrument you're on, you have to figure out what the series of fingerings are, and you practice those until they become second nature. That was a pretty involved response, okay?
Well,
By the way, for those of you interested in the Beato book, you can go enter the code, go to my website, you can pick it up today, 20% off anything in my store. That's RB20 727. And if you want to join the Beato Club, you can go to my website as well. The Beato Club is basically like Patreon. You can find it through my website. It's a way to donate to my channel if you really believe in what I'm doing here and want to support it. You can support it just by buying my book. You can support it just by leaving comments or just watching the videos, obviously. You do whatever you'd like. When people, the nice thing about Patreon is each membership level, you get different things. You get PDFs of lessons, you get on one level, you can get your credits being a supporter in the description, and every successive level includes the ones before it. And there's one, the highest level, that's the premium membership that I will do a reaction video to a piece, of a mix, a song, a piece that you've written, anything that you want me to listen to. And there's a limited number of those right now, and those are filling up fast. But go check out my website for that. Next question.
All right. So this guy Austin asked something that I already kind of answered in the chat, but we got some conflicting answers, so maybe you should have the final verdict.
Okay.
He was asking about the 3-chord and whether you always use the whole step to add the 9th. On the E minor in the key of C, you wouldn't add the F sharp, or would you have add the F as the 9th to stay diatonic?
You would add the F to stay diatonic. Absolutely. That's so here's a 3. That's what I would call a 3-chord if I want to add that 9th, which is really the flat 9. So you got your E minor 7. That's a really good sound there. It's almost like a suspension, right? But it's a great sound. If I'm doing 1, 3, okay, to 4, right? That's kind of nice voice leading. 1, 3, 4, 5, right? That would be a nice way to use that flat 9 for voice leading. I mean, you can use the 3rd, use that minor 9 on there, but it's not diatonic. That 1 chord, 3 chord, but that's really changing the key, right? So that's why 1, 3 uses a flat 9. That's a great sound. I love it. Love that sound. Okay.
There was a question by RC32.
What's up, RC?
He says he's not fluent or knowledgeable in theory, but he's wondering how to differentiate sus chords like sus2 and sus4 just by listening to them.
Okay, so that's a great question. A sus2 chord and a sus4 chord are related because they're just inversions of each other. Okay, so this is why it becomes tricky to hear them. If I have C sus2, I have the notes C, D, G, right? 1, 2, 5. That's a sus2 because it replaces the 3rd, right? But if I take those notes and order them different, G sus4, right, is actually G, C, D. Same notes, 1, 4, 5. Okay, so when you hear them, it can get confusing because they are inversions of each other. But a sus2 chord sounds like this. In rock, back in the old days, used to be a band called the Foo Fighters, and they'd have a lot lot of chords like that. That's a sus2 chord. Sus2. You used to hear them in rock in the 90s a lot. Major 7 chord. Sus2. Whereas if you hear a song like Black Hole Sun, that starts with a sus4 chord. Right there. That's a G sus4. Then you have E flat sus4 there. Okay, so that's the difference between sus2 and sus4. Sus4 wants to resolve down. Sus2 wants to resolve up. Sus4 down, sus2 up. That's how you hear the difference between them. Sometimes people use both, like in Stairway to Heaven, you hear that. We'll hear it in a million different songs. Next. You see that? Tuning with harmonics, that's what we used to do in the old days before we had foot tuners. Or even worse, clip-ons. Don't get me started. Aaron, a couple more questions.
Somebody asked, can you think of sus chords as palindromes to power chords?
I'm not sure what that means, palindromes to power chords.
I guess because if you stack them like C, G, and then you end up on D, it's like a sus2.
Oh yeah, well those are I wouldn't say a palindrome. What you're talking about really is compound sus2s, for example. So right there. So if I take an A sus2, which and I go right there, that sus2 is really a 9. It's really a sus9. Sus2 makes it more difficult to do on guitar. Sus2 would be this. So A and B next to each other, where it's actually acting as the 2, and then the 5. But when you do it like this, when you hear a song, those are all sus2 chords. C sharp sus2, although it's acting as a minor. A sus2, B sus2, F sharp sus2, but he goes up to the minor third. Let's see. Yeah. What's he? That's how Sting does it on his solo version on Secret Policeman's Other Ball. Great video from that, where he actually substitutes, instead of the C sharp sus2, he plays E major 7 to A sus2 to B sus2. Anyway, so that's the difference in those chords, the sus2 and sus4.
Okay, I got another interesting question. This one is a little more conceptual.
Okay.
I know my modes and can use them effectively for mood, but only during slower chord changes. It seems harder to maintain the mood with fast changes. What's up with that?
Because it's hard, because it takes, well, it really depends. It depends on how you're moving between them. To establish the mood, I know what you're saying, that it takes a minute to establish the mood. If I'm thinking of an E Aeolian sound, and I play this, okay? If I'm playing that, if I do that, and I'm going to an F Lydian sound, I did. When the chords are moving really fast, it is hard to establish a mood, but I demonstrate things like on Steely Dan. What is it? those chords are moving really fast. I'm not sure that I think that they establish a mood, but they move really quickly, you know? So I wouldn't necessarily say that it takes time to set the mood of the thing. I mean, you can move between these modal sounds very quickly. And I mean, if I were to play a progression like this, you know, something like that. So I'm thinking there's a Phrygian sound, Lydian augmented, dominant 7, flat 9, flat 5, Lydian augmented, Phrygian, Lydian augmented, dominant 7, flat 9, flat 5, Lydian augmented to a major add 9 or minor 7 sharp 5, right? Now that's going by really fast, but every second there is a mood, right? I mean, it really sets. It's I don't know. I don't know. I hear it, even though it's moving fast. I hear all those sounds, so. It's all about hearing quicker. That's the thing. It's like people that think that this stuff is complex or it's some mathematical exercise or anything. It's like, look, you listen to jazz, you're like, I don't understand it. It's all these weird chords going by fast. Well, it's just like if you don't speak Chinese and someone's speaking Chinese, it just sounds like a bunch of weird words, right? You know, it's like if you don't speak the language, this is all just a language. If you don't have the vocabulary, if you don't understand the syntax, if you don't understand the sounds, it just sounds like a bunch of gibberish, right? I don't speak any language other than English. When I hear my kids speak Mandarin, I don't know what they're saying, right? Sounds cool. I can appreciate the sound of it, but I don't know what it means. And, you know, can I enjoy it though? I don't know. Would I like to sit and listen to them speak Chinese all day? I'm not sure. That's not really interesting if you don't understand it. But if I'm trying to understand it and I start picking up words, the more I listen to it, the more like I recognize that word. Ni hao. I mean, okay, I recognize that. And there are certain phrases in Chinese that I recognize now because I've heard my kids say them. That's it. Same with jazz. You start recognizing, that sounds like a flat 9 chord. That's a major 7th. It's a minor 11. Aaron knows all these chords when he hears them. I hear a line. Oh, that's that kind of a line. It's like a Lydian sound there. That's, you know, I played something on my Instagram last night. I did a thing on C Lydian, right? And I did. Then I did. Now, as people are like, that sounds like Eric Johnson, because I play. So I'm doing. That's a sound. That's a Lydian sound. That all those notes together. Beautiful sound. Beautiful, beautiful sound. Not boring, you know. The thing about getting away from these things, and when I hear that, I say, oh, that's just a Lydian sound. And I hear this C major triad, D major triad, and that sharp 4 resolves up to the 5th of C major, right? I hear it. I'm familiar with it. I've heard it 1,000 times. No, I've heard it 100,000 times, and it sounds normal to me. So the more you listen to things, the more normal they sound.
We got any more announcements?
No more announcements. If you once again, if you want to purchase anything off my website, it's 20% off today. The code is RB727. And if you want to support my channel, a lot of my videos get demonetized. I was talking about this the other day on a live stream. Pretty much all my big videos get demonetized because they're what makes this song great. And anything that I play, when I play anyone else's music, my Virtuoso video, my John Mayer versus Joe Bonamassa, I mean, anything that I use actual other music to demonstrate, they all get demonetized, which is fine. It goes to the artist, but I don't make any money on that. And this is the way that I make a living, is through YouTube. And but it's basically through people that buy my book and buy my t-shirts or want to donate to my channel. So that's the, if you want to see, I mean, I want to actually improve the content on here by taking it, you know, by being able to go on the road and go meet with people and doing, you know, what makes a song great with the actual artists or the producers, maybe in a studio listening to stuff and asking the people, you know, I did a video on, yes, wouldn't it be great to talk to Steve Howe or John Anderson, or talk to Donald Fagen, or talk to Zed about clarity, or talk to Drake, you know, I mean, whoever, and actually meet with them in person and talk, or hear, you know, Vinny Colaiuta play the drums instead of doing a sounding off with Vinny where I'm just talking to him about drums. Mic up the kit, have him play, ask him about polyrhythms. You know, that's the thing. Go up to Nashville and hang out with Victor Wooten in person instead of doing it on camera. Those are the kind of things that supporting my channel will enable me to do. So anyways, Beato Club is on my website, or you can go to flat5.com, which is Aaron. It's actually through Aaron's website. It's basically Patreon, but it's done correctly. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. I'll talk to you later.